I'll make notes for them as I go, and we just review the first two. Whether I've seen 8, 10, 12, or however many.
You can hear the dulcet tones of me tapping away.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You play the dulcet?
I do.
I didn't know that. I am sharing the post.
All right.
I'm sharing the pre. Oh, that doesn't make any sense at all.
I was thinking we should take a Farmer Says and do a Star Trek version of it. This is the Klingon. Mach, mach,
Today is a good day to go moo. No,
do you hear the tribble? This is a phaser.
Pull a string.
Alrighty.
This is the Erics. That almost sounds like it's how a Farmer Says. It's got kind of a tinny sound to it.
It's a little record scratch or something with it.
Yeah, those teeny, yeah. You have to have that beforehand, you pull the handle down.
Handle? I was a string kid. You pulled the string.
When you speaking spell?
No, on the Farmer Says. They went to the handle after all the strings broke.
Ah. All right. Well, I think I'm as.
This is your digital assistant.
You are in error.
Oh, I guess I'm not ready because that says I'm not.
What do you know? Even a clock's right twice a day.
You forgot the broken word. A broken clock is right twice a day.
Whatever. You know what I mean.
Even a clock is right twice a day. Even a calendar is right once
a day.
Once a year. Or whatever.
Even a calendar's right once every 7 years or so.
Even a calendar gets caught crossing the street on the left side.
On that note,
yes, I think we're ready. All the warm-up exercises have been accomplished by this point.
I've been slighted enough. Let's move along.
All right. Get me to the recorder. Make sure I am recording a podcast. Yes, not an interview, not karaoke. And when did I get a second counter on this thing? The USB stick is not where it needs to be. Hold on.
You have one job.
But 2 USB sticks.
Yeah.
I have the holy USB stick.
Holy USB sticks, Batman.
Insert the holy USB stick.
The holy USB stick has been inserted.
Yay.
There's much rejoicing. Ready?
This is The Topic is Trek, episode 160 for Friday, June 7th, 2024. Coming up in this episode, the Protostar is back. Well, at least Prodigy is. News from Vulcan, Alberta, Canada. Hooray! And it's the end of the series as we know it. All that and more right now on The Topic is Trek. Long title here, but
Do you want to do it over? Now we have to.
welcome to The Topic is.
Do you have time to change it, or is it a static image?
I can. It would take me a minute or two, but I can do it.
I was going. Are we talking about book again?
Let me remove
a picture full of mushrooms.
No, I'm going to remove that.
We're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix it,
We're
even
gonna
though
fix it in pre.
it's
See?
already
All right.
it's already
Did-
been released to the public.
I was trying to get AI to give me an image of the Discovery with the saucer section as a pizza with mushrooms. That's where I got that image earlier. Yeah,
And now we have to change slides.
that's right.
All right, let's see. Da-da-da-da-da.
If you go backwards, does it go the other way? Here, this is this new Star Trek theme.
My dog has fleas.
Beautiful.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
That's actually sounds like Spock learning to play that. What do you call it? Yeah,
His little, his harp thing.
yeah. I'm playing my harp thing strings.
Slides. Let's see. Why is it still
Herbert.
no remove? Delete it. Remove from studio.
Herbert.
Because I have the other one here. Why is it not?
You have to load it again.
Yeah. Let's check it out here. That doesn't look good. What is that? Oh, I see.
It's still Thursday.
All day long.
Okay. It looks like it's got the right thumbnail, so I would say we should go.
Okay. Places, everyone. Places.
Smiles, everyone. Smiles.
How about a smirk?
Here we go. Take two. Ready?
Hold on. I got to get my show notes in front of me. Okay. This is The Topic is Trek, episode 160 for Friday, June 7th, 2024. Coming up in this episode, the Protostar is back. Yeah, well, at least Prodigy is. News from Vulcan, Alberta, Canada. And it's the end of the series as we know it. All that and more right now on The Topic is Trek. So long, and thanks for all the shrooms. Welcome to The Topic is Trek, the podcast that runs on impulse power. Join us for a journey where no show has gone before. If it has to do with Star Trek, there's a good chance we'll talk about it. Sooner or later, because on this show, the topic is Trek. Engage already. Well, hello, and welcome once again to another thrill-packed episode of The Topic is Trek. My name is Clinton, and I'm one of your co-hosts here on the show where we talk about Trek. That's why we named it The Topic is Trek. We were thinking. And in order to be a co-host, obviously I have to have other hosts. So beaming in to join me from parts unknown with the hip new catchphrase that you, but probably not you, will be talking about tomorrow, it's Mr. Kreg Step.
Game over, man. Game over.
Somewhat appropriate.
Yes.
I suppose. That won't always work, but not bad for this week. Not bad at all.
It may have been recycled, I think, but we'll go with it.
Yeah. And also beaming in to join us is Mr. Chuck Tomasi. And he
Live
operates
long
his
and
own,
prosper. Live long and prosper.
he operates his own transporter, so it's very hard because as he's trying to operate the controls, he's disappearing at the same time.
No, we've seen them, set the controls and run onto the transporter pad.
We have.
Hey,
It's-
by the way, I think you were getting slighted a little bit there, Chuck. Our listener Diane says, "Remind me the name of that book Chuck wrote." After we were stumbling around trying to get the show started today. Wah wah wah.
I have
Ooh,
the
my.
5th edition. It talks more about live streaming
Yeah, as you can tell.
and artificial intelligence, so we can replace Kreg.
Ah,
Yeah, with replace that real intelligence.
We have to have some intelligence on the show.
well, gentlemen, we have a lot to discuss this week, especially about series finale coming up to talk about. So let's start with Subspace Chatter by first checking with either Charlie X or Mirror Charlie to find out,
Which one's it going to be?
are you okay with Subspace Chatter?
You don't need all that subspace chatter.
Oh, it was regular Charlie. Boo.
Yeah, but let's return him at Walmart and see if we get another one.
We like Mirror Charlie so much better.
What's
Right.
the reason for your returning this, Charlie?
He's an ex Charlie. I mean, he's Charlie X. I don't.
Ex Charlie.
All right,
All right.
Craig, you get
Yep.
the first story here.
All right, and I know we're all excited about this one. Season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy has finally confirmed its Netflix release date. The entire 20-episode season, the entire thing, ready for binging, will arrive on Netflix July 1st, 2024. So season 2 kicks off with Dahl, Raktok, Zero, Jacob Pog, and Murph continuing their training to join Starfleet Command or Academy, excuse me. As seen at the end of season 1, they are called aboard a new ship for a mission under the command of Admiral Catherine Janeway. So the new season features many 2-part episodes, but we don't want to spill all the tea or coffee, however you want to look at it, on any of those details. In fact, everyone here at the Topic is Trek is trying to remain as spoiler-free as we can.
We
I
just
love
gotta
this
become
graphic
good.
because they're doing the Vulcan salute, but the only one who can really do it is Janeway because she's got 5 fingers. The others
Jacob-
are more or less just
Jacob-
spreading their fingers around.
Yeah, Jacob kind of does it by default.
Yeah, Murph is having real problems with the whole thing.
Or if we're not sure what's going on.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's Vulcan salute or something horribly nasty. I'm not sure what's going on
It's
there.
the sarcastic slap upside the head.
yeah.
All right, Chuck, you're able to solve a mystery for us now.
Well, in case you were wondering why Lieutenant Commanders Detmer and Awashakun were absent for most of season 5 of Discovery, blame the conflicting schedules of actors and not the writer's room. Showrunner Michelle Paradise clarified that the beloved characters were not benched, but Emily Coots and Oyen Oladejo, we'll go with that,
Yeah.
had other projects. So Star Trek Discovery Season 5 introduced a mostly new bridge crew with Lieutenant Commander Asha taking over for Kayla Detmer at the helm. And Commander Jemison subbing for Joanna Washakun at operations. In Star Trek Discovery Season 5, Episode 5, Mirrors, Detmer and Washakun were assigned to pilot the Mirror Universe ISS Enterprise to Federation HQ by Captain Michael Burnham. We know her in real life as Sonequa Martin Green. This explained Detmer and Owo's absence for the rest of Discovery Season 5. Aha. That's where they went. Didn't they make like brief cameo appearances in 1 or 2 episodes?
They were
end.
in the bridge scene in the episode before Mirrors.
Okay.
Because they had to recreate that scene of Burnham on the bridge, and of course you would have them there. So I'm not sure how they were able to get that one filmed mid-season.
Yeah, and the final scene too.
Yeah, but remember that the final scene was shot long after.
Yeah, more recent than
Long after or long before?
No, long after, because
Oh,
that
okay.
was tacked on at the end. They'd already finished the season, and matter of fact, the only set they had left standing was the bridge. So that's why it all takes place on the bridge.
Let's not do this in the mess hall. It doesn't exist anymore.
yeah. Hey, people are looking at the script. Oh man, sick bay.
We get
Come
to drink
on.
on the bridge.
So I'm happy to report, just for my personal benefit here, that In the battle for Paramount Mountain, it was kind of a no news week as far as anything moving and shaking on the definitive answer to what will happen. We do know, however, that Skydance, who, as we recall, was in the process before in exclusive negotiations, and then that period ended, and Sony and Apollo had an exclusive period. Well, Sundance kind of pulled a Sony Apollo and put up a new offer while those exclusive negotiations were going on, which is a sweetened offer for owners of Class B non-voting stock. One of the big sticking points for people that have those kinds of stock is that they felt like they were not going to be getting as much out of the deal as Chevy Redstone was going to be when Skydance purchases National Amusements as part of that long chain of things that have to happen. Well, now they will be getting more. They were getting a premium over the current share price. Now, if you go out and start buying the stock now, you're not going to do as good because you'll drive the price up close to what that offer is. But if you're someone who already has the stock, it's going to be like everything that's like a 20% above where the price was when this offer was this sweetened offer was made. So pretty good deal on that part. Warren Buffett's going to miss out on that one because, as we recall, he sold all of his stock.
He dumped it. Wow, he's an idiot.
That's right. Some oracle there, huh?
Yeah.
We do, however, know that the three CEOs, remember now after they let go the Bob Bakish as the CEO of Paramount Global, he was replaced by three executives in the office of CEO, and they were part of the shareholders meeting, which took place earlier this week, and they outlined how Paramount moves forward if these mergers don't happen at all. And big surprise, one of the ways you move ahead is you lay people off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a pleasant thing to be hearing.
Nope.
We still are waiting. The board of directors had given power to a group to investigate and look into all these different proposals, and they gave the big green light to this one from Skydance. And now, as we've been doing for ages, we are waiting on Sherry Redstone to make her decision about whether or not, as the majority voting shareholder of Paramount, is she going to go with this or not? And we are hoping, quickly to remind people, that between Sony Apollo and the Skydance deal, Skydance Redbird, actually, we're looking for the Skydance Redbird because that keeps all of Paramount together as a single unit.
Yep.
If the Sony Apollo one goes through, Sony has no interest in the studio, and Apollo will probably use that as real estate to just, put up an office building there. They can't own CBS because they're a foreign-owned entity, so that will go. And they have no interest in streaming, so Paramount Plus will go. Not really what we're hoping for after just getting the band back together. So hopefully by next episode, we'll get something, because the three CEOs were going to hold a town meeting for Paramount Global employees this past Wednesday, but they've postponed it until the end of the month, which could mean that maybe something will happen by then. Maybe. And we'll just have to wait and see. But right now, the battle for Paramount Mountain is kind of in a stasis. Everyone's frozen in place at the moment, waiting to see what's going to happen next. All right. And then in Vulcan, Alberta, Canada news, guess what?
What?
This weekend, it's Spark Day.
Oh, look at there.
Yay!
Starting tomorrow by the time we're recording
June
this.
7th through 9th in
I'll wear my
Vulcan, Alberta,
socks.
Canada. And there's all sorts of festivities going on, and we really have to get our act together and become sponsors of these things, because they do take sponsorships, and I think that would be a
See,
good idea for us.
we could
What can I get for $1?
a
Get the-
pancake breakfast. We could sponsor the beer garden, the parade. Hey, we already end the parade at Dragon Con. Why
Yeah.
not?
So,
Hey, you guys are dressed like Futurama.
no, we all have Trek uniforms.
Good news, everyone.
Matter of fact, we
Right.
have so many. We should start the parade in one set of uniforms and have a float where you can kind of go in and change. And mid parade, we're in different uniforms, and at the end, we're in
Yeah.
third set of uniforms.
Just see who's paying
Our
attention.
Futurama characters, we just put the Delta badge on and we're done. That's all you got to do.
That too.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, if that news was not enough for you, we have 91 additional stories to talk that you can browse through over in the show notes for episode. Exactly, Eric's episode 160 over at thetopicisttrek.com, and you'll get all sorts of news. We've got something from a lot of the different series, but big surprise, the majority of articles are going to be about Star Trek Discovery, including the
Oh,
fact that it was scoring well in the Nielsen's these past couple of episodes. So that was interesting. More behind the scenes stuff about the finale and the goings on with that. Those articles that say ending of Star Trek Discovery explained, and you read the article and they never really explain the ending. They just kind of have that as their headline. Got those in there as well, in case you want those. And all sorts of other things, some stuff about games, comics, actors, what they're up to these days, all sorts of things. All right. With that said, however,
Oh, by the way, I did want to add, and I'm sure you guys have already heard it. Walter Koenig was on the Trek Files this week.
Yes,
Mhm.
I read that this morning.
Yeah. So anybody wants to go hear that? It was an interesting. Actually, it was more interesting just to listen to Walter talk for a little bit, because I don't think he was 100% speaking to the document, but around it. You know, the things that was his life was like around that third season. So I would highly recommend that. I enjoyed that.
absolutely. And Larry Nemechek mentioned on his live show that he does on Tuesdays that those files and the audio are now linked in Memory Alpha.
Oh, that's right. He mentioned that. Yes.
So you can, and because he
Oh,
said
that's
sometimes
right.
it's really hard if you're listening to an old episode, and he would have the documents on Facebook, and you'd have to be scrolling back.
Yeah, it wasn't the best setup. Yeah.
But now, if you go to Memory Alpha, you'll be able to have that stuff right there. Very
And actually,
convenient.
that's a perfect place for that.
And
And
our
also-
show. We could put our show on Memory Alpha.
We could.
Can we?
I also said to him, we should have you back on again sometime soon. So we'll try to work on that
Yeah.
Mhm.
as well.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
Hold
With
the microphone, Craig. You
Yeah.
speak
that
into it.
said, it's time for one of my favorite parts of the show, considering the fact that it's Charlie X we have with us. I get to say goodbye, Charlie.
Now he's gonna be an ex Charlie.
I want to stay.
Nope.
No, absolutely not.
No, not on my ship.
That's right.
It's gonna be part of a song. I want to stay.
Yeah,
stay.
Make some dubstep out of it.
And now it's time to head out on our main mission with an appropriate sound effect first.
Sound effect.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh, brother.
I guess.
Head now to Eden.
Well, since you gave us that delightful musical cue, Chuck, why don't you give us a little bit of details here on
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
Our main mission is around the final episode of Star Trek Discovery, titled Life Itself, written by Kyle Jarrow and Michelle Paradise, directed by Olatunde Insomnia and Jonathan Frakes, who was uncredited. Interesting. The short plot synopsis is trapped inside a mysterious alien portal that defies familiar rules of time, space, and gravity. Captain Burnham must fight Maul and the environment itself in order to locate the progenitor's technology and secure it for the Federation. Meanwhile, Booker puts himself in harm's way to help Burnham survive, and Rayner leads the USS Discovery in an epic winner-takes-all battle against Breen forces.
All right. So we have lots to talk about here. And I think I'd like to try to do, again, concentrate on one part, at least up to the point where everything seems to kind of merge together,
Okay.
and then talk about another subset of what's going on in here. And obviously the first thing to talk about is where Burnham and Maul and those Breen end up is going through that little portal and ending up in this huge, kind of reminded me of an empty shopping mall in a lot of ways. I don't know.
It's a TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside.
Yeah.
Well,
There's the
that is-
screenshot behind your head, Clinton. Yeah.
Yes, that's certainly true. But something about those lights that kind of look like, you had hanging fluorescent tubes
Yeah.
all over the place.
Right.
Burnham does some investigating of that. And I was kind of confused by this because we have the walkway that she's going down,
There it
and
is.
off to the sides and all up on the walls, kind of in a whole kind of Inception type of thing. You have these different worlds, if you will, that you can see below. You can see mountains in one of them. You've got greenery here. You've got a storm raging on some planet, and there's a planet with fire and all sorts of things going on. But I didn't know if it was supposed to be a world or an environment kind of as a lab, because the portal to get back never went away. When she would go through, she could just, as we know, she hurricanes herself out of it back onto that walkway when she falls into one of them.
Actually, it kind of
Did you
reminded me.
guys get-
It kind of reminded me of the time portal, from TOS.
Well,
The Guardian of Forever?
except that even in that, like that disappeared, it was kind of hard to get back again, right? It was like masks so people wouldn't see it there.
Yeah.
And this one was just like a big opening.
Yeah. Now, Chuck, I was talking about the time portal where they're looking at the little discs and they end up walking.
Where Spock and McCoy get flung back into the Ice Age.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Mr. Atos's library.
Right.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
So I know did you think that they were worlds, or did you think of them as like little slices of environments?
Oh, I thought there were worlds.
It was, in that respect, it was more akin to the episode of TNG where they find the old control panel where the doors are opening, and Data's deciphering the glyphs on the console. It's a combination of D1 and Denasi and yeah. Just start pushing some buttons, Data.
Shut up and push buttons.
But we do get to find out what happened to the two Breen who went through. You have the poor first guy that goes through not knowing what's going to be happening when everybody keeps handing off the key, and he's the poor one that gets it and has to open up the door and go through. Well, he gets his head smashed in by Maul, and he's just lying dead there in the environment. And the other one, the guy that went in tethered and the tether broke, he attacks Burnham, and they have this fight in a storm raged environment with the hurricane winds going, and he's pushed aside. He's sent away, but apparently he is able to come back, because after Burnham gets back out, he follows and is about to attack her again. And she's just like, oh, for crying out loud.
Enough already.
How many times do I have to kill you?
Yeah.
But it's taken care of because Maul ends up killing him, which I found, well, okay, I guess her motivation was she figured that Burnham knew more about what was going on than she did. So if one of those two people was going to have to be eliminated, it was going to be the Breen.
She was only using the brain to get where she wanted. And
Right, but I mean,
so
now that she's in this environment, your
well,
first
she's
thought would be, well, I
yeah.
don't need Burnham either. I can shoot them both. But she reckoned correctly that because Burnham had done everything, followed the entire trail, that there was probably something that she knew that Maul didn't know.
Mhm.
So they have an uneasy truce to go in search of the progenitor's machine device. I'm sure they didn't know exactly what they were looking for, and what they found was a poppy field that they had
I
to
was
work.
thinking the same thing. It's either a bunch
Mhm.
of sunflowers or the poppies from The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first thing I thought of, it's all golden and stuff in there and everything.
Yeah, I was waiting for the Tin Man and the lion to
The
start
lion
walking by, you know. Yeah.
lion falls asleep.
Scarecrow. Hey there. Hoo-hoo.
But weird thing going on was that first of all, they run across what Burnham identifies as a grave, a memorial to the scientists who got killed. And I'm thinking, how does she know that's what that is?
I don't know. It could be, just one of those stacks of rocks that somebody made and left on the beach.
And the second thing is, did it seem odd to you that there's a clear, flat walkway and they're sludging their way through the flowers?
Poppies, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, "Get on the sidewalk, stay off the grass."
Yeah. Yeah. One Willie from The Simpsons is gonna pop out. Hey, get off of my poppy seed garden.
"I'm making some opium."
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You're stepping on my product.
And they come across the last clue that has to be solved, the last riddle, the last piece of the puzzle.
It's a tangram.
Reminded me that you would sometimes get it in restaurants where you'd have to move the pegs to get
Yeah.
all the pegs out, type
The
of thing.
pegs, yeah, there was also a game called tangrams where they give you triangles and parallelograms and trapezoids, and you were supposed to make, a swan or a dog out of these different shapes, and they would just give you the solid shape, so you had to put it together with pieces. That's kinda what this reminded me of,
Mhm.
and as soon as she said the clue, I knew exactly what
Yeah,
they
me
had to do.
too.
It wasn't that hard.
I think that Maul was going to make a triangle, and when Burnham said no, it's the shape in between.
Right. The shape of the one
I
between
would
the
think that
many,
everybody,
going, "Duh."
yeah, well, you invert it and you have the empty space be the triangle.
Uh-huh.
But no, she goes for it and she gets a little stuck. But
I
she
Don't
does
don't
she does
tase
have
me, bro.
she does have
I wanted to see her hair stand straight up.
Just
she
fan
she
out.
did use the pattern buffer to have Locke there as well,
Mhm.
um, ready to be revived. Now, this is another thing, and I'm going to jump ahead a bit because I think we're going to deal more with Burnham and the progenitor, but she's done all of this stuff. She's killed a Primarch.
Yep.
She has taken over Breen's ship. She has, done all this stuff. She has Locke, in the pattern buffer because she's going to revive him. She doesn't care what she's got to do to make that happen. And after Burnham's adventure, and she says, "Nope, can't do it." Okay, let's go.
Yeah, I thought she gave up a little. There wasn't even like a primal scream or just I was very disappointed at Maul's reaction too.
Yeah.
We can't do that here. Oh, well, okay. Well, you want to get a sandwich?
Finally, somebody told me.
Yeah, would have made the series so much shorter if you told me that in the first episode.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was a little bit too easy to give up. I figured she was gonna I thought maybe, no, it can't be right. And she tries to do something else. She ends up killing herself, you know?
Or a struggle or something.
Yeah.
Right. She didn't. I mean, Burnham, I think, is the one who presses the um
the pattern buffer thing to put them back.
Yeah,
away.
to get locked back into there just so they can leave with him. But yeah, it just kind of fell flat for me that she was upset, but not as upset as one would think she'd be after
Yeah, but
going
she
through
gave up.
all of this.
She believed her implicitly too. She was out cold. She doesn't know what Burnham was doing while
Right.
she was snoozing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So do we want to press on to Burnham, or do we want to like
Yeah,
hop
let's
back
move
at
on.
everybody else who was trying to deal with things up to this point?
Let's move on.
Okay. So we'll go continue with Burnham.
Sure.
Okay. So Burnham correctly does the puzzle, and the reaction seems to be the same at first as Maul, where she's kind of like frozen there.
Right.
And thinking, oh, well, maybe that wasn't the answer. Maybe we weren't as smart as we thought we were, but we were, because suddenly she's in the same place, but a different place, because now it's dark.
It's not the golden hour anymore.
Yeah. The fluorescent tubes have been, put aside for a bit, and the progenitor greets her and says, oh, so you followed all the clues and, you're here and you're going to be the person in charge of all this now. Wait, what?
Yeah.
And it's as we suspected, that they were basing everything off of one person and their experience, that I guess that was the only person who was going to be allowed to be in charge of this entire thing. It just, it didn't seem like much of a plan on the progenitor's part.
No.
Well, you'd think they'd have a better plan on the back end, because they hid all those clues and everything, or made it difficult to actually get there.
And a lot of that was to test their character, test their mettle, make sure that was the right person to
well, she also
this.
Yes, and she also made the right decision that not to use it. Just so she had made that clear to him.
It was war games.
Yeah,
Yeah, in a way.
The only solution is not to play.
That's right. Which she ended up throwing it in a place where it's going to be even more difficult to get to.
Right. It was they pushed it beyond the event horizon of the black hole.
Which I recently heard what an observer would see if somebody went into a black hole. They would see, as the person reached the event horizon or ship or whatever, it would sit there for a very, very long time from our perspective, because their time just accelerated really fast, but we're seeing it much, much slower. So it would take a long time to eventually fade away. I think Dr. Aaron missed on that one. It just sort of went whoop.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of those artistic licenses, because if they said, oh, we tossed it over here and it just sat there.
So it looked like it was sitting on the black hole.
Yeah. What?
It's like they pulled the Riker maneuver and that Riker did in Picard and slung it over there and stuck it in the event horizon.
It's interesting. I was doing a bit of a mini rewatch of Discovery, pulling together some images that we're going to be using later on. And I had forgotten that before Riker did that, in season 2 of Discovery, they have an asteroid on board Discovery from when they picked up Jet Reno, and they're using that to draw the fragments away from the small settlements on the planet that the people from Earth got sent to. Well, she essentially does that same maneuver. They release the asteroid out, and it's held in place by a tractor beam. And as it's described, Discovery does a donut and like flings.
That's right. Yep.
That asteroid off.
I remember that.
So they did it first. They should get some credit for that.
Well, technically Riker did in the timeline.
That's true, but from production standpoints.
Wait. No, they would have done it first.
Oh, that's right, because that was
before they
jumped.
Yeah.
Before they jumped.
Right. So
Stupid time.
Detmer did it first.
Stupid time.
It's very confusing, people. Very confusing.
Yeah.
Like podcasting.
Yeah. So Burnham decides that I don't really want to be in charge of this, and yeah, I think we're going to get rid of it, which makes what happens to the other people very interesting because they're trying to save Burnham, and we got to get this tech and all that kind of stuff. Little do they know what's going on inside there. So first we have the Discovery, which is making its way to the location, and they have to deal with the fact that the Breen ship is on its way, and the Breen ship, not the one with the new Primarch, but the one that was being
Oh, Taller or
created,
Talon or whatever her name was. Yeah.
yeah, but this is the one that Maul was on. So that Breen ship is there, and they're sending out a bunch of fighters, fighter ships to attack Discovery, and so they're trying to work out how they're going to deal with that because they can't like leave. But Book says, well, give me a shuttle and I will go out and I will grab onto this thing with the tractor beam, which I thought, boy, the variable about how good a tractor beam is really stretched there.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get something at the edge of two black holes and the tractor beam of a shuttle can hold it in place.
It's beautiful.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But he needs to have a special device with him to absorb some of the radiation or make the shields better able to take on the radiation that's going to be out there. And amazingly, they have something they can just whip up in 30 seconds that will do that, which probably should be on the ship to begin with, I guess, at that point. And Culber decides to go along. And he doesn't really even know why. He just feels like he needs to go.
That
Yeah.
was a bit strange.
It's been kind of leading up to something
Yeah.
weird about him anyway.
Like it's like a lot of it is that he seems to access Janal's memories, but just the stuff that Janal wanted him to know. And so it's like, okay, now is the point where you need to know what the frequency is you need to be at
Mm-hmm.
to hold this thing in place. And now is the time you need to know this.
That would come in
says,
handy on Jeopardy.
Yeah, he says, I can't really access all of his memories, but I just seem to know this thing here. And Book is like, how did you, what, who, where, why, how? But they're holding on. They're doing their part. And Discovery's trying to figure out how they're going to deal with a Breen ship and all these fighters. Well, the fighters turned out to be an interesting solution to them. Who wants to talk about how they get rid of the fighters, the little fighter ships?
They drew them. Yeah, they basically led them into. We've seen this maneuver before too, where you go into a what was it, insurrection?
No, never seen it before.
Pocket of Metreon gas and ignite it behind us.
Right.
That kind of thing. It's like, hey, there's a dangerous spot. You don't want to go in there. We're going in there. So let's lead all the ships in there and we'll ignite something behind us and kaboom.
Star Trek Insurrection.
Insurrection, right? They got like 40 of them in one swat. Pretty good kill ratio in my book.
Right. And they were all far enough back because they made a point of saying, well, we don't want to be anywhere near this explosion when it happens. So all those fighters that were right on their tail are far enough away that you can shoot off these 3 photon torpedoes, have them streak across to where those fighter ships are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started to feel like you're stretching here.
Yeah, it did seem like a little bit of stretch.
And speaking of stretching, we've got Saru and now
Action Saru.
Yes, Action Saru. And they're in a little a shuttle which has the pathway drive. Not like the Breen would be really interested in how a shuttle can catch up with them. And maybe they would want to have that pathway drive technology or anything.
Did the back end of that shuttle look an awful lot like the Orville?
It certainly did. I think we'd seen those shuttles before, though, hadn't we? On the series,
I
think
hadn't
we had.
noticed.
By the way, I don't know where that. I'm skipping through the video here looking for that picture, but there a picture with Saru right there. I'm gonna pause it. It looks the Breen.
Breen on a plate.
It looks like a Cylon from the newer Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, well, they had done that before, where unlike other times we see holograms, instead of an entire body, they just have a hologram of their head.
Well, well, for a regular, well, I say regular alien or any kind of humanoid, their head shows up and they're talking and the mouth's moving. This, it just looks funny because there's no movement. They're just maybe going back and forth. It's not articulated like a regular head would be. Anyway,
So Action Saru
does some fast talking.
engages. What?
He does some fast talking.
He does, because he is not really having any success trying to have the Primarch leave, but then he bluffs that, well, she's revealed where one of her bases is, and he's in charge of many worlds, or is in contact with many worlds, and they are on their way there, and they are going to attack
Mm-hmm.
if, and then somehow maybe the reception is better on her end of this hologram thing, because she can actually look into his eyes.
Yeah.
Whereas on our side, if we saw Saru with that same technology, it'd be like this fuzzy thing that keeps, waving out.
Right.
Yeah. That's right.
And you certainly wouldn't want to reciprocate that. The Breen would say, "Look into my glow."
Yeah.
In my visor.
I also noticed that when they're catching up with the Breen ship, that even their warp speed is green. It's like,
Oh.
okay, sure, let's go with that. It's very,
Yeah.
very green in there.
Mm-hmm.
They got it from the Borg.
However, Saru does pull off the bluff, and she leaves. So that giant threat again felt like filler, because he kind of just says, "Oh yeah, well, this," and she goes, "Curse you," and
But
leaves.
didn't she leave behind a cloaked scout?
She
ship
did.
or something?
She
Yeah.
did. I mean,
Oh, foiled again.
curses.
Darn
Can't go that
Kelpians.
extra like 2 light years. Darn it.
Yeah.
Those darn Kelpians.
Yeah.
I would have made it if it weren't for you meddling Kelpians.
Oh boy.
So they're all headed towards this one point, and now Discovery is really in a bind here, because how are they going to deal with the Breen ship and the incoming other ship, and make sure that they don't, give information about this technology and have other ships, come in here and so forth. And we get to see something that we rarely see in Star Trek. And what is that?
The saucer separation.
Saucer separation.
We didn't know Discovery could even do that.
Makes sense.
And we didn't know Discovery could do something else either.
Yes.
Oh, you mean the spore drive
Yeah.
outside the
Yeah.
spore
Well,
drive?
that's the
That's
second.
why they
half of it.
separated.
I call that the spore sandwich.
Yes. Well, they had. So the idea is that they are going to perform a jump, but they are going to position the primary and the secondary hulls on either side of the Breen ship and this scout ship. So the jump will take place, but it will affect what's in between those two things. And
Which
so the Breen ship,
I thought that was a bit of a stretch, but hey, I'm no spore engineer.
and we get to see Rayner make a moderate call. Like, I'm sure he would, in the old days, would have said, yes, I want them jumped into the middle
Of the black hole.
of the black hole, or the middle of a sun, or
Right.
something.
That's what I thought he was going to do. But no, he sends them to the edge of the galaxy where it will take them about 20 years to come back. That's more mercy than they gave my people.
I like how it goes, it'll take them about 20 years to get back. I was like, oh, that would suck.
Hey, Janeway did it in half that time.
That's
Yeah.
right. They just get the transwarp something or other.
Say
Although-
hi to the Kazons.
Although
Yeah,
now that
yeah.
I think about it, they mentioned in an earlier episode that the Breen use tunneling technology. So in theory, because that's what Voyager was always looking for, was like that tunneling way to, get
Yeah.
back, because that's like the Borg use that all the time. Maybe it's not going to take them 20 years to get back.
We'll never know now.
Yeah.
We will not. We will not. That's where roughly the episode ends, I think. It gets kind of fuzzy as to which things past that point after, Burnham says the decision I've made is that we are going to basically remove this technology from the equation. And her voiceover says, and if the people that created it, we find out, or the whoever created it, because we find out that the progenitors didn't even create this.
No, yeah, they inherited it. And the people they inherited it from may have inherited it from someone else. So it could go way, way back.
I like Burnham hears that and goes, "What?"
Yeah. Bunch of used equipment. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not paying
Ah,
full price for this. I'm telling you
I
that
know.
right now.
Right?
Hey, it appreciated over time.
Yeah, I don't
houses
appreciate
used to be worth a
appreciation.
lot less.
The progenitor looks at Burnham. Hey, it's the mileage that counts.
So we
Walking
start on
around-
our
Walking around like a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Look at all the fancy furnishings. Well, that's a storm down there. Never mind.
Yeah, that's right.
It-
look at all the windows you've
we
got.
mentioned that Maul and Burnham did get back on Discovery.
Yes, because they are picked up by Book and Culber in the shuttle. Maul, of
They-
course,
they
is put
didn't-
under arrest.
There didn't seem to be quite the threat from irradiation that they made it out to be.
No, we
They
didn't
only
even
have
get.
60 minutes. I would have expected some rotting flesh or something, but maybe the makeup budget ran out.
And Burnham, Culber said that I'll stay with you as long as I can, and apparently that was until they were done
Yeah.
without any problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I actually
definitely
remember-
you want to put that technology on all the shuttles from now on.
Yeah. And it's not like they haven't been down that road before, because remember Burnham had basically cancer for being out there for too long.
Mhm.
Or what season, or the first one or two episodes.
Right. It was a possibility that her DNA would start unspooling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that we find out that Maul is under arrest. However, she is supposed to, after whatever punishment she's going to be through, she's supposed to report to Kovich, which was an interesting turn there. Now, at this point, what's happening in the in our wrapping up of the story, it becomes a mixture of some of the things that were planned for season 6. And some of the things that we see are ideas that they were kicking around to spool out over the course of the 6th season. And I think possibility that I don't know whether we would be seeing Maul again or not, because she would have to be spending some time in prison
Yeah.
for what happened. I don't know. But Burnham then goes to see Kovich, and Kreg.
He
I'm
had
gonna
his
let
yellow
you-
legal pad.
Yeah, I'm going to let you talk about that one. What happens when she goes to see Kovich?
Well, she they kind of wrap up the red directive a little bit, and Burnham ends up asking him, "Hey, what is your real name? Who are you really?" And of course, they pan around to the artifacts behind him on the shelf, and
There's a
you see
baseball. There's a bottle of Chateau Picard.
Geordie's visor. Seems
That's-
weird
that's
to
a bit
have, but
cruel. Yeah.
yeah, it seems a little weird to have. I hope they got it after he needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, well, that's kind of a red directive in itself. And he says his name is Daniels. And of course, immediately I was like, oh, okay, that makes some sense, I guess, a little bit. And it's Daniels from Enterprise, who was
Mhm.
the time traveler that was coming back and helping them.
I looked on IMDb. It wasn't him.
No, stop that.
It wasn't the same guy.
Now that's one of the things that is interesting because it struck me as kind of it's interesting, but I felt like they hadn't played it up well enough and close enough to the vest from the beginning.
Mhm.
And I think that's because they didn't know that at the beginning. I guess it was going into this season that they thought they would start putting in various clues, one of which was being him using paper.
Yeah.
And then that would lead into next season.
Right.
Eventually you would find out that he was Daniel.
There's a little too little,
Well,
too late.
Here's the I'll share my concern with that a little bit. I feel like they made that decision when they revamped this last episode because, like you said, there was not enough clues. But one of the things that he said, and this has nothing to do with him being Daniels per se, but one of the things I thought they were going to try and wrap up on was he made that kind of quip to Burnham, says, "Well, you're meant for something else." Remember that? He said that like a one-off message, and I was like,
Mhm.
we talked about it on the show. We're like, what does he mean? She's meant for something else. And I thought that's what she was going to ask. Then she asked his name. I was like, well, maybe they're going to say something else, along with that. So, which then I thought maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but maybe that makes sense because he knows that she is meant for something else. Because he's a time traveler.
Right. And
So I don't know.
I think that between this and what happens at the very end of the episode, I feel like he had a strong involvement in what happens at the very, very end of the season of this episode. That these are the type of things that we would have seen kind of more elaborated on
Hmm.
over the course of another season. That since they had now said,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to commit to this is who this person is, more of that would have played out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So did you feel like it was a cheat that they made him Daniels, or clever that they
I,
made him Daniels?
I felt it was clever. I just felt like we didn't get enough to get ourselves there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't a big enough, "Oh my gosh," or, "Oh, I should have seen that coming."
Yeah.
Which in a way is good. The internet didn't see it coming either.
That's right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
always a bonus. Then the next thing is we have Saru's wedding, which seemed to be awfully Earth traditional wedding.
It's not logical.
You have
Yes.
the kissing of the bride and groom, them entering, everybody's having a party.
Let's just
I-
smash a glass on with our feet.
Yeah, I was expecting somebody like clink the side of one of their wine
Saru
bottles.
Saru carried her through the threshold.
Well, they were introduced. It felt very
Yeah.
like I would think that Vulcans would have. Now maybe it could be one of the situations where you have a bunch of people that are not Vulcans and not Kelpians, and you have a ceremony for them,
That
and
could
then
be
you have a ceremony,
on Vulcan
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Navarre,
Well,
or
now
you
that you mention,
have another ceremony. They may have had multiple ceremonies, and this is just the one they chose to show us.
well, and and now that you mention it about it being very Earth-like, I mean, even the Beta Zeds do theirs naked. Surprised Saru didn't like want a tree or something, but hanging out as his best man. I don't know.
We did see his sister. I think somebody who's supposed to be his sister and his the character whose name is escaping me, who was responsible for the burn. I think they were both.
What was his
I think they
name?
were both
Vakal?
there.
Vakal,
Sukal.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sukal, excuse me. Yeah.
I think they were both there at the wedding.
As long as you don't get Sukal drunk and mad.
Yeah, I know. Just
It's
don't
just
do it.
you don't want to do that again.
Speaking about getting people mad,
Oh,
Burnham is winding her way through the reception and she runs into Tilly speaking with Rayner. And
Grumpy.
yeah, basically ends up calling Rayner grumpy, which he is grumpy about. Because she's going to start a mentorship program at the academy. And she got the idea, like, seeing what happened with Rayner, it's kind of like, what did she say? It's like Adira and me, except, age reversal and not as much grumpy. And at that point, Burnham says, I'm leaving this table now.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Saru's sister wouldn't have been at that wedding.
What?
She didn't go into the future.
Oh, that's right.
She stayed with all the
But it
fighters and
looked like
stuff.
there was another,
It's probably another Kelpian, I'm sure.
another
But
few. Okay, yeah, you're right. So, all right.
Good
But
call. Good call. I mean, she could have been there, her bones or something.
well, let's not. I don't want to do that. No, let's not. Do
wow, after 1,000 years, it's a little more like ash than bones.
The urn is holding up well.
that. Did anybody also notice that when Admiral Vance goes up to talk to the bride and groom, he says, Admiral Saru?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did not
Yeah.
catch that.
Yeah, which I thought was an interesting.
So he went from captain to ambassador to admiral.
Yep.
So
It's a
he's
clear
back in the
path,
service.
Yeah.
Back in the service.
Yeah, that was a long day for Saru. All those got married and got promoted 3 times.
Phew.
And fended off the Breen.
Yeah.
And late to the party was Book.
Took a lot to do his hair that way.
Yes. But he wants to speak to Burnham outside. And essentially we get resolution there on their story because big surprise, they've always been in love with each other.
Wait a minute. That wasn't resolution for them. That was just the beginning of their resolution.
Well, I mean, we're getting the resolution that leads to that.
We got closure.
Yeah. Okay. We get closure on it. And she gets another call from Kovich, or should I say Daniels,
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert. Wait.
about another red directive. And, she asks Book, hey, you want to go along? Yeah, it could be fun.
Yeah.
No, I'm retired.
Oh wait, I just thought about something. Wasn't Daniel supposed to not be interfering with anything? I know that he did plenty of interfering already. Now he's like a high-ranking official in Starfleet.
Well, he's learned a lot of lessons over the temporal wars. He knows what to do and not to do. And the things he's not supposed to do, he only does them occasionally. So
Yeah, occasionally.
that's fine.
Yeah. Only because they're supposed to happen.
Like having a few peas fall into the salad at the salad bar.
Is that the butterfly effect you're talking about?
No, that's the butter effect.
There's peas in the ranch dressing.
I feel like this is an episode of Seinfeld all of a sudden. Anyway,
Yeah.
Supposed to happen. It was predestined. Move on.
all right. So we get a fade out and then we get a fade back in again.
A few moments later.
Well, it doesn't identify
30
how many years
later.
later this is. And I think they do that on purpose, but we know it's been long enough that Book and Burnham have a grown son.
Mm-hmm.
So it's certainly been a while. And they now live on Sanctuary 4, where they brought Molly back to the transworm in the first episode of season 3. And that's where their home is. And they have a creature kind of like a deer who they call Alice, which of course is for Alice in Wonderland. That's a little Easter egg there. The son's name is Leto, which is an Easter egg for those who forgot. That's the name of Book's nephew.
Yep.
I was thinking of the song.
No, he wasn't doing the shuffle at all. We see a couple of things in the house. Obviously, we still see the Red Directive 8 thing, which is still active, and so that I guess means Kovich is.
Oh, the little
around.
infinity thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's on a table. We see the bowl that the tree cuttings came from. We see Giorgio's telescope, which I'm confused about the telescope because Burnham gave the telescope to Saru.
Oh, it's to Saru. That's right.
But it ends up in her office.
Maybe give it back to her. You know,
guess.
Wedding
well,
gift.
I guess. I don't
a
know.
we- yeah, wedding gift.
It gave me a used telescope as a wedding gift.
Yeah, from a dead person.
And then bizarrely in the backyard, there's a Starfleet emblem in white rocks
Yeah,
on the ground.
because
They have no imagination with their garden. Oh, let's just do a Delta shield.
that'd be like me putting a ServiceNow logo in my front yard. Just not happening.
Doesn't
Right.
make any sense. I guess it could be kind of a beacon of sorts if you needed it. If you needed it that badly, that's not a good sign. But for the
Oh.
shuttle 47, by the way,
Nice.
Hey.
another Easter egg there.
And by the way, when the shuttle was coming in, and that they showed that Delta shield in the backyard, I kept thinking of MASH.
Hmm.
Like the
You know-
helicopter was going to land there.
Yeah, where it says goodbye.
Then we get to see the new-ish version of a dress admiral's uniform, which kind of looks like the ones we see in Strange New Worlds.
Hmm.
It's got the same kind of epaulette area bars that are like triangular, go down, and it had a feeling like it wasn't the same as them.
No,
But
you
at the
know,
end
all
of-
the old fashions come around eventually.
Yeah,
Just take
I
a
guess
few
so.
100 years.
We find out that Tilly is the she's the longest tenured instructor at the academy.
Well, they just started it back up, so it's probably
Well,
a pretty low bar.
at this point, it's been quite well. That somebody was asking that question said, "Well, wait a minute, there were never any Vulcans or anything at the old Starfleet Academy." And
Oh, right.
but I'm thinking, well, but this is like starting new, well, clean slate here. So Tilly is, she's got the record at this point,
Mhm.
which to me, for Mary Wiseman, I'm going, look, I've got job security. Clearly, no one's going to fire me from Starfleet Academy.
I'm the only one.
Yeah.
And
She-
we get to
Wait a
Starfleet.
minute. So there's a question still that she's
Yes.
going to be in Starfleet Academy, right?
We haven't. All we've got announced, really, I think, is the announcement of not a name day of we talked about last episode. The actress who's going to be the captain in.
Oh, right. Was it Holly Hunter? It was.
Holly Hunter.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I was saying that. I mean, they haven't announced anything for Mary Wiseman, so
No, but
they've been
I
dropping
mean,
hints like crazy.
yeah, I can't see she won't answer questions when asked in interviews about Starfleet Academy. Like, no, you're gonna get me in trouble. I think that kind of indicates that, yeah, she's in Starfleet.
Oh yeah, I think you can read from her silence.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We find out that apparently that Christmas ornament Starfleet headquarters has now 3 of them. They're
Mhm.
growing. We get 3 of those there. And I thought as they were pulling up to the space dock that we were going to be seeing, because all this talk in the shuttle is between Michael and her son about, you're in charge of your first ship, which, by the way, is going on its first mission to the place
He
that
wants
we
to
saw in
make
the
an
first
inspirational
episode,
speech.
right, of Star Trek Discovery. They're going to that same planet, that kind of deserty planet, but they got the water to come out of the well. But so all of that, did any of you guys think the ship we were going to be seeing was his ship?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not. We get to see Discovery, and it's
Yeah.
kind of confusing.
Because the bots are putting an A on it.
No,
No, they're
removing
taking
the
it
A.
off. They're taking off the A
They're taking off the A. Okay.
Yeah.
because
When did we have an A? Was that when it got?
When-
retrofitted.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
when they
Okay.
came in from the future, they retrofitted it, and that's when it had the detached nacelles and all that stuff.
And why
Yeah.
are we taking the A off?
We are taking the A off because the ship has to look like it did in Calypso. There was no A on that
Yeah.
ship, so
They
retrofitted
reverted
the
all
ship.
the they reverted all of the changes.
Right. So you now
Does that
have
seem like the best use of our Starfleet dollars?
you have the nacelles attached on the side again. So it
They're
essentially
just
is
gonna
the same.
drive it out to the sticks and leave it there. So why all the extra
Drive it out in the
effort?
woods.
You have to ask Kovich because
Yeah.
he's the only one who's going to know.
Yeah. Which that leads me to asking you guys about a fan theory, or at least your theories about that. But when y'all are ready, are y'all
No,
ready for
We
that?
we
Now?
need to move along. We're over an
Okay.
hour now.
Well, go
All
ahead.
right.
So we're kind of wrapping this up. So
Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, did they not mention during the episode that they had to meet somebody named Kraft? Ship needed to be there for somebody named Kraft.
well,
Burnham said that.
Burnham says, all I know is that you are supposed to meet. No, I think she says, all I know is it involves something craft. She says,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a person, a
Well, that was
ship.
his name. That was that.
Yeah,
It's
but
that.
no, so she says, I don't know if that's a person's name or a ship
No.
or
Well, I'm
what it
telling you,
is.
that's what he said. That's what they called him. When
Yes,
he
I
was on.
know, but I'm saying that
Macaroni and cheese.
right, but she doesn't know that. She just knows that she's
Right.
been told that, I guess, as part of what she
Okay.
knows is that that is what will happen. And she
So
also gets the sense that it's not going to be something where she sends out the discovery and like 2 years later it's going to be coming back. She says, I don't think I'm going to be around when you
yeah.
come back.
So why do you think they were? What do you think? They said that they were leaving it a little open ended.
Well,
Uh,
again, I think that
but what
they
is
said
y'all's
that
theory?
this was the other thing that season 6 would kind of, and probably with more Kovich in here, is why this has to happen.
Hmm.
But we don't dwell on it because
Yeah.
we just need to get to the end where I think that the writers felt like, let's face it, everybody rides on Discovery for, oh, this is never going to sync up with Calypso.
Right.
And we even had earlier in the season when we had the episode where we thought it was going to be, and then I went, no, that's clearly not it because of all these
Hmm.
reasons, which they undo,
Yeah.
mainly that the ship doesn't look correct and all these other things. We do now have, and if you notice that they make sure to have one shot of the little disc with the like the waveform
Yes.
when
Oh,
Zora's
yeah.
talking.
They were actually. I think in a previous episode they showed it too. Like they were kind of, hinting that this is coming up. Yes, I did see that.
So I feel like we don't
Zora's
have
little
a lot of that.
waveform over the door. You mean?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't have that information. I don't think we're ever going to get it
Well, the reason
because
I'll tell you, I was just coming up with a theory in my head
okay.
that the reason that they reverted, for some reason, they got to help him, and line everything up, and they revert the changes on the Discovery and put it in place because that guy Kraft has actually been in space a lot longer, like from the original Discovery era, and it's now coming to that one spot.
I don't think he's from the original disco era because he
Hmm.
refers to the Federation with a slang word, which is very much like what the bad guy that they run into in when Tilly and Saru go to that like Western bar,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
something like Federation or something like that, which indicated this was a since the Federation wasn't really around much anymore, that phrase had kind of
Okay.
gotten
Yeah, nobody had any respect or anything.
right.
Yeah.
And he refers to them the same way, or refers to something in that way, and that they are the enemy.
The
Hmm.
feds.
Yeah, the
So
feds.
yeah, so I think he
Badgers.
is from I think he is from excuse me. I think he is from a time after what we're seeing in the 32nd century,
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
you get the sense of there are ebbs and flows of the universe and this civilization and
Yeah.
this organization, and is now gone into another decline.
I was just trying to figure out why they would have to go through the trouble to revert the whole ship, to make it look like, the previous version.
Yeah. But the real question Diane asks is, what about Jacques Cousteau? Well, that's a different Calypso. So it's not quite
Or
the same.
John Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So it's time to rate
John Denver.
this, which is a biggie because it's an episode, it's a season finale, it's a series finale, it's a dessert topping, it's a floor wax.
It's the
What are we
last
gonna
one
rate
of
this on?
this series we'll ever rate.
Are we going to rate this on Calypsos? I don't know.
Yeah.
What's that little infinity thingy?
I don't know if they ever the red
They didn't really
directive.
call it anything.
It's the red directive beeper or something. I
About
don't know.
black holes.
All right, we'll do Calypso. So
Calypso's
Craig,
all
why
right.
don't you start us off on this one?
I enjoyed the episode, but yeah, it was a little choppy, I think, because they were trying to you could tell they were kind of wrapping things up at this point. Because even Jonathan Frakes said the episode that he directed, he didn't know that the end was in sight, so they really had to turn around at the last minute, I think. I say last minute, but they did have a long time to work it out. But so I enjoyed it. I think I liked the way they wrapped it up. I think I liked the epilogue more than I did the episode, the way they turned that around. So I'm gonna give it an 8.
Okay. All right. Um, I'm torn for the same reasons you are, Craig, that I feel like we had two different parts to this thing. And looking at the part that was the final episode of this arc to get to where the progenitors are, it seemed to kind of fall apart that we got as disco often does, start to drag. And a lot of the stuff that was going on in this episode was superfluous, that the focus really should just be on they find the progenitor and we
Mhm.
find out this information about it and the decision has to be made rather than trying to also say, oh, when there's green here and explosions and all sorts of other things going on. And for the fact that it was indeed rushed, I mean, we talk about them having a long time. They really didn't have too long to do that because they were down to just one set. They had to get this as soon as the word came down that this was the end. They had a couple of weeks to map it out and get it done, even though it didn't premiere for a long time. So you could work on more effects if you wanted to. Getting the actors in and getting the thing filmed happened relatively short period of time. And given that, I felt like they tried to jam as much in there and close up as many of the questions that people had as they possibly could and not just have it be exposition type of thing, that you get a resolution of Burnham's story. And,
Yep.
People say, this is about Burnham. Yes,
It
actually,
was.
Yes, it is.
it is about
From the
Burnham.
beginning, it always has been.
What a surprise. That is exactly what the show has been about. And I don't think anyone should have thought otherwise. So you get a chance to see the resolution of her story, which is probably the most important thing to have happen. And I feel like they pulled that off that, okay, finally she has, made a life for herself that is not total chaos. They've been able to have a son. I just feel like this was good. So I guess I'm gonna go for an 8 as well. I probably, if it had just been the series finale of the season finale, not knowing exactly where the cutoff was for that, I felt like a little underwhelming. But
Yeah.
I did like the epilogue.
Yeah.
What about you, Chuck?
I'm out of here.
Oh,
Now, I'm gonna go with an 8.5. I thought it was very enjoyable, but there were those gaps, like Maul gave up too easily.
Mhm.
So similar kind of thing, and I'm with you. There were a few parts in the main story arc where it was, I'll say they probably had their production challenges going, oh, we got to wrap this up. But the epilogue was very enjoyable, and I left some things on the table that we might be able to tie back to at some point if the opportunity arises.
Yeah. I
Sure.
was happy that they did tie it all into Calypso at the end, though.
I really don't think that was necessary. I really don't.
Maybe
I
not.
thought that was superfluous. That they didn't need to retrofit the ship to drive it out in the woods and go there. Now the fans won't get mad at us.
All good and clean and fixed. No, I'm just saying. I like that they tied it in there. I didn't say it was necessary.
And
I
I
care.
really, those two things, Kovic and the Timed Eclipso, are things I really wish we had that season to at least makes more sense of it, but we don't. We don't have that season.
I would have loved it if Kovic at one point, just without Burnham being around, going, "Oh, Archer was so much easier to deal with." So
But was he really?
I
I
know.
don't think he was.
I know. No, he wasn't. I'm just saying,
Holy
All right.
Suliban, Batman.
So we've done that, and it's time to come back from a main mission with an appropriate sound effect.
This one.
Ooh, all right.
We're gonna have to do the round table as a lightning round table.
Yes. Well,
yeah, we don't have to dwell on them too hard. Too
so
much.
the idea here is that we wanted to pick the favorite moments that we could think of from all 5 seasons of Discovery. And to me, a lot of these just came to me just off the top of my head, the things that I really
Yep.
enjoyed. When I got Craig's list and I got Chuck's list, there was some duplicates. So I had a bunch of other ones that I've kind of added some different ones in there to make sure that they had theirs kind of to themselves. Although I'm kind of tacking on to 1 or 2 of them, and you'll see what I mean when we get there. So
Mhm.
Chuck,
Did you say you got this off Craigslist?
no.
Yes.
All right. So Chuck,
$5.
you are first up.
My first one is
Number
is
one.
when season 1, episode 6, when Sarek had to choose between sending Michael or Spock off to Starfleet. So she's rummaging around in his memories and
Mhm.
comes across this realization, like, wow, I guess that would have been a tough decision. So I thought that was a rather poignant moment and defining moment that they tied into well.
That is a good one. Yep.
Indeed. All right, Craig.
All right. So I like the first time we meet Tilly. She's a great character to begin with, but they introduced her in a way where you go, oh, there's actually normal people with not. I'm not saying she has a problem, but with normal character quirks and stuff, and we get to see her as it's just a real person being there with her, with whatever issues that she's dealing with, and
That's-
I really like that.
They had to be careful because she almost came across as kind of ditzy at first.
Yeah,
He's
it
very
almost did,
nervous. Very
but
nervous.
but it was also the beginning of her big character arc because she
Mhm.
became more
Confident.
confident and self-secure.
But it's
over
still
time.
crept in. Like sometimes she doesn't know when to, shut up.
Mhm.
But then it became endearing, like calling Rainer grumpy, kind of thing. It's like, all right, they worked it in well.
But
You're
it
right.
made it look like real people in the Trek universe a little bit more than we've seen in the past.
Yep.
Indeed. All right. My first one is the actual reveal of what the 10C life form looked like from the end of season 4. I felt like you needed to come up with something that was imposing, different,
Different with a good word.
just something that wouldn't communicate in the same ways, couldn't easily relate to these small creatures. And I just felt like it was a really great visual. And this is a statement overall. I didn't put every single one of them in. 99% of the special effects in every season of Discovery were like amazing. So,
Yeah.
but
That's true.
this really stood out for me.
Yep.
Okay. Next up for you, Chuck.
I enjoyed the fact that they brought back the Guardian of Forever.
Yeah.
I am the Guardian of Forever.
Careful, remember what happened the last time you used the echo on the show.
Want to come inside? Yeah, that did not go well. We blew the whole budget right there.
Alrighty. And Kreg.
That was oh yeah, I was gonna say the whole episode with Harry Mudd. the magic to make the Sanus go mad.
That was on my list too.
Was that
At
not a good
one point.
episode?
Yeah,
That was funny.
for
Yeah,
those
there
of you who are not watching the video, I tried to find a shot that would encapsulate that thought, and I had to enhance this a bit in computer enhance.
Yeah.
It is when Harry Mudd beams Lorca out into space.
The free
Yeah, and he's
yeah.
like
One
his
of the
legs start
many ways
and
he
he's
does
trying
it.
to yeah. Oh man, the whole thing. And he killed like Lorca like what do you say, 50 times or something like that. It was
Mhm.
it
He
was just
loved
and
every
then
single one of them.
yeah, and at first, they have the few time loops and they kind of do it a little faster and he's like, "Oh, got to do it again." And he keeps doing it. That was such a fun episode. I think yeah, even Lorca being put in space is kind of shocking, but in the context everything, I'm not going to say funny, but it was I don't know, just not humorous either. I don't know. It just kind of had that weird quirk about it that really set this episode off.
And from that same episode, zeroing in, something that I really liked in that episode were the moments between Stamets and Burnham,
Hmm.
where he's trying to convince her that they're stuck in a time loop. And he asks her to, tell me something that's a secret that no one else knows. So I can tell that to you, and you will know that what I'm telling you is the truth. And she
Yes.
whispers something to him. And he says, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And what she's whispered to him is, "I've never been in love."
Yeah.
And then she's awkwardly interacting with Tyler, and she blows another round of Harry Mudd winning. So she's asking Stamets, "Well, how do I do this?" And they have this quiet scene where they're just dancing, and he was discussing how he met. I'm sorry, Stamets discussing how he met Culber,
Hmm.
and they're two very quiet scenes in a chaotic episode,
That's
which I
true.
thought was amazing.
Yep.
All right, next up is you, Chuck.
I enjoyed the raising of the Federation flag at the end of the first episode of season 3. Yeah, it
Hey,
was just
you need to find the YouTube video where it's just 8 hours of them raising the flag.
yeah, I know this was in the trailer and everybody pointed it out. Wow, where'd all the stars go? But I still think it was a very lovely moment that they found this one guy who's been sitting at his outpost, doing his diligence of absolutely nothing. How do I get that job?
Hmm.
And then he finally gets to what he got promoted or
Well,
Burnham
he
assigned him the
wasn't an
position.
official Starfleet personnel, so
Right.
he couldn't raise the flag himself. And Burnham says, you're as real a Starfleet officer as anyone I've ever met. I need someone to keep listening. Will you accept the commission? So she's field commissioning him to
Yeah,
be
that's what it
Starfleet,
was. Yep.
which was awesome. Absolutely. All right. Next up, Kreg.
All right. I like the whole scene with Michael was having to say goodbye to Spock, and you could see where their relationship really took a little turn. They're actually kind of built up to that point before she headed off to the future, and Spock was not going to speak of her anymore. So that was a great moment. And he's inside the ship. She's in her red angel uniform and or suit, and she's ready to take off. And I thought that was a good moment. Almost
Absolutely.
almost thought Spock was going to cry there.
I won't
Yes.
grow my beard back until I see Michael again.
Yeah.
All right. My next one we talked about fairly recently, which was the transformation of Dr. Culber into a totally different person in this episode Janal from this season.
Hmm.
Um, I was talking about this with Bonnie saying, I know it was different circumstances, but when Book became just the avatar in the library, just didn't feel the same. This was like night and day, just
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it
Absolutely
was.
amazing.
I did like that, and he's kind of like that in real life. That kind of easygoing and charismatic.
Going. You want to go to the bar and get a drink?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Chuck, you're up next.
Where am I? I am on the end of season 3, where we finally get to see Michael take the captain's chair. I thought this was a great statement of look how far we've come.
And what did she say? What happened in the chair?
Let's fly.
Yeah, that's fine.
She also says that at the end of the other season when we're sending her off to put the truck
That's
in the
right.
woods
That's right.
for one last time. Let's
All right.
fly.
Kreg.
Well, all right. So the other moment I like was when she's exonerated for her crimes, and things come to light. She's formally restored to Starfleet at the end of season 1 and makes her speech. Just like Saru, she's good with the speeches.
That's what a captain does on
That's
Star
right.
Trek.
Yep.
Gotta be good with a speech.
I just
Mhm.
put Lenny Kravitz in my head. I don't know. I want to get away.
Oh my.
What? How
I
did that?
want to fly away.
All
Let's
right, we
fly
can't afford the rights
away.
to that. We can't afford the rights to that. Let's move on.
Yeah, we can't
My
afford
next
it.
and last one is Pike introducing himself to the crew of
Hey.
Discovery.
That's the saddest picture of Pike I've seen.
Even his hair is depressed.
He
That's
looks,
right.
"Aw."
The Pike's Peak.
They
This-
actually see that he failed at something. He's like,
Yeah, this was a brilliant scene because he has to. He's come in. He's taken over the Discovery just when that was not what anyone was thinking was going to happen, and he has to convince them that, as he says, "I'm not him. I'm not Lorca," and he comes in just very casual to kind of just look. I'm with you
Yeah.
guys, and I've got my flaws, and here are my flaws, and I just felt it was a great way to introduce the character and to see the crew kind of getting a little bit more at ease because this is a hard left turn for all of them.
mhm.
So I thought that was great.
Well, and they also in that scene, he not uh make sure to point out everybody's name.
Not in that scene. I thought it was part of the same scene. It's like 2 scenes later where he just says, "Yes, I want to know who I'm working with. Give me
Yep.
names. Ranks don't matter."
Yes.
You know,
Well, that was other part I really liked as well.
absolutely. All right, Chuck, your last one coming up here.
Great segue from you talking about Lorca
Mm-hmm.
because I thought this was a wonderful moment when you finally get revealed that Lorca is in fact a baddie from the Mirror Universe in season 1.
Yeah. That was a
Well,
good moment too.
oddly enough, you've got a reveal for your last one too, Kreg.
Yeah, and it's one we touched on a little while ago. Kovic reveals to Burnham that he is actually Agent Daniels, and we know him from Star Trek Enterprise and his misadventures with Archer. Which, again, as I mentioned earlier, I felt was kind of clever on one hand, and and maybe a little bit on the other side, going, I don't know if they really need to do that, but I was down with it.
Okay. And my last one is one that I just did not see coming. Ash
Oh,
Tyler kills Dr. Culber.
oh my gosh!
That
I
was
was
on
yelling
my
at the
list
TV.
too. No, that was on my list, but I thought it would be too obvious. But yep,
It just, the fact the internet guessed pretty much that Tyler was Vok,
Hmm.
but this moment you figure, okay, so he's clearly caught on that maybe something's not right with Tyler and they're going to have to put him in the brig and so forth. Nope. He just kills him.
Well, this was also the moment I realized I was getting attached to Culber's character because all of a sudden they kill him. I was like, no, 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 you don't. And I was like yelling to the TV. Ah, so frustrating.
So you're saying it's all your fault.
Man, I didn't do it. Ash did. Ashvok did.
A likely story. All right. Those are our 15 most memorable moments from 5 seasons of Star Trek Discovery.
Oh yeah, remember that one time when R2D2 rolled in and he?
No, we're not gonna. No, we don't. No, don't talk about that.
he turned around and ran back out.
All right. Well, with that said, it's about time to refill the dilithium chamber. And our next episode, we're not sure exactly when that's going to be. We have to work out schedules, but with Prodigy coming back very, very soon, we'll map out our strategies, and we'll be having a lot of A lot of new content coming up in just under a month. Very good. All right. So you can find me, Clinton, at Comedy Forecast, all one word with the number 4.com, where I put out audio theater episodes. And who speaks for you guys?
Are you a thespian now?
Yeah, but only on Thursdays or so. Oh,
Does that mean you only eat ostrich or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to look that up in my Funkin' Wagnall.
Didn't just date yourself with that comment.
Not at all.
He was there for printing one.
So
Go ahead, Craig. Get
that
us
was
out of
Webster.
here.
I was there.
All
for.
right. So you can find Chuck and I at the Technorama Podcast. Just search for Technorama Podcast and you'll find us on Google or wherever you find podcasts. There you go.
We're not where you find the fine podcasts. We're like the lower decks of podcasts.
We're in the budget bin at Walmart.
All right, time to hit the theme, boys.
It's around here somewhere.
If you like the show, please be sure to tell a friend about it and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us on X at The Topic is Trek. Visit our Facebook page or visit thetopicistrek.com. And also, we have a phone number now, which is, I believe, 816 Trekker.
Just how it sounds, people.
Yes, Trekker. Okay, until next time, on behalf of Chuck, Craig, and myself, I'm Clinton, thanking you for listening. And as we always say here on The Topic is Trek, don't put
on the red
red
shirt, but call frequently.
Just don't reverse the charges.
Done.
Woohoo!
Speaking of dating yourself,
10, 10, 3, 2, 1.
when was the last time somebody said, Clinton, there's a phone call for you? I think it's long distance.
Don't answer. Just, whatever the message is, they're just saying they got home safely. Don't do anything else.
That's right. Click.
Actually, if
This
you
is
look
a
at
call
the
from Sing Sing Prison.
Oh,
Do you
that-
accept the charges?
Clinton,
if you
that
look
was
at some of the numbers here that I've got on the Okudagram thing, I think 10, 10, 3, 2, 1 is one of the numbers in there.
10-10-2-3-1. Yeah.
Hey, Clinton,
then,
I think that was the early text messaging. Just say the message, say your name. I made it home safely.
Yep. As the operator is talking, you're talking over them saying, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm in jail.
I'm in jail.
It's a boy.
Oh, we got a nice little
Oh,
thank you, Diane. Listen,
Thank you.
Diane. All right.
All right, we will
Stop the
see all
live
you
stream.
lovely people real soon.
Take care. Stay safe.